Alright, I'm doing something a little different today that I haven't done in the past. Is a Sunday video. I usually try to take this day off, just kind of relax, spend at least one day of the week, not focusing on politics and the various and new and inventive ways that that the freaking government is trying to fuck us all over. But unfortunately today I kind of have to because I wasn't able to get to all of the topics I wanted to cover yesterday. So this is the result. I got two things. First off is have a little update on President Trump and the White House's budget proposal. Where's the picture? I'm switching some things around. Okay, there we go. Okay, Trump's budget. I did a video before a few days ago, and I will put a link in the description to it about Trump's plans to increase military spending even more, increasing it by something like $54 billion. Billion with a B, dollars. Because obviously there's just nothing that we could possibly use that $54 billion for, here, as far as, maybe investing in infrastructure or schools or healthcare or education. I know I said schools and education. Well, I mean education, like college grants, low interest student loans, things like that. Infrastructure, roads and bridges. Our infrastructure is crumbling. Trump has said so himself. Do we spend all that money on repairing that crumbling infrastructure? No. Let's dump it down the black hole of the little money pit that is the military. But anyway, that's. If you want me to see my full take on that, there's again link in the description to that video. The subject of this video, in as far as the budget goes, is where he's making these cuts. Because there are a number of things. Going on with these various budget cuts. Because basically the concept that they're going for is being fiscally conservative or going for a balanced budget. Is that they're going to try to cut that $54 billion from other areas and introduce some new taxes, which they're Republicans, so it's not a tax, it's a border fee or something, which I always thought was interesting. But anyway, I found a couple of areas where they plan on making these cuts. And it's basically every non-military program and agency, especially the ones that actually do good for the people of this nation. And so let me go into a couple that stood out to me. The first one is the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. Am I getting that? Honestly, I've always just called it NOAA. Let me check. Yeah, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. From here on out referred to as NOAA. Now, the White House, like a 4-page draft budget memo was leaked a few days back, and was published by the Washington Post, and it revealed that the Trump administration wants to make a 17% cut, like across the board cut to the NOAA. The deepest of those cuts coming from Earth observation, and more specifically satellite, the actual use of satellites to track climate and weather. Now this, of course, makes sense to Trump and to, his various little batch of I don't know, like elementary school educated sycophants, because climate change is a hoax. It was perpetrated by the Chinese, and these are one of his campaign surrogates. Who was it? They don't specifically say. But one of his campaign advisors called these programs politically correct environmental monitoring. Oh God! I mean, seriously, these guys have it. This is what happens when you don't pay attention to your high school science teacher. Later on in life, when you do need this information, you don't have it, and you make stupid decisions like this. They essentially want to cut back this unnecessary, politically correct spending on these, unnecessary investigations or research into this Chinese hoax. But they don't realize that, satellite monitoring of weather patterns is used for more than just climate change research, you fucking dumbasses. It's used for weather prediction. It's used to gather research to study weather patterns and to build prediction models for hurricanes, for tornadoes, for tsunamis. To help with agriculture and farming and things like that. It's not just for climate change research. And they want to cut it. Let's just I think it was the satellite division was looking at getting roughly $500 million cut off of them. So basically what they're going to be causing, what's going to happen when they do this, is that the NOAA, who, yes, being the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, does track and record data and conduct research for climate change, or studying climate change. But they also do, basically, they keep track and research all things related to the weather. So now there's going to be limited, by doing this, they're going to limit the data available to meteorologists, to early warning systems, to universities, all of which study these weather patterns and study this data for many purposes that are all absolutely vital to our safety and to our economy in a number of situations. And it's because they think, studying the environment means you're studying climate change. So that's his plan, basically. We'll just cut we'll just cut off the, we won't study the environment. That way they can't say that, they can't give us all this annoying data and evidence that climate change does exist and has been proven and is man-made. Even additionally to that, here's a little more from the article that I came across. These cuts would be particularly dangerous given that the Trump team has suggested eliminating NASA's Earth observation program and shifting its work over to the NOAA. There we go. According to Bob Walker, a Trump senior campaign advisor, NASA should focus on exploring and studying deep space, not politically correct environmental monitoring. Again, dumbass. there are reasons other than climate change to study the fucking environment. If you actually paid attention in high school, you'd know this. God damn, these people are fucking idiots. And there's more. That, by the way, I forgot to mention, that was an article from Think Progress with a little bit of Washington Post thrown in. I will link to both in the description. Now, from here we actually take an odd turn as far as where these budget cuts are going to be happening. Another area, there's a story, an article from AOL about this. Again, links in the description. That says that the Trump plan would cut around $1 billion, or actually I think it was a little more. What was it? It was 1.3. They're asking, Donald Trump's proposed budget guidance is asking for $1.3 billion in funding cuts to the U.S. Coast Guard. Now this is yet another one. People don't really think of the Coast Guard that much, unfortunately. But, they are important. They're the one branch of the armed forces that isn't actually focused on killing people. And has actually been actively carrying out their mission basically since they were created. That's the thing I think a lot of people don't think about. Is a coworker of mine who's in the Army mentioned this to me. That when he was in the Army, he said he was in the Army in the years sort of between after Desert Storm and before Iraq Part 2. And he said he actually had a lot of respect for a Coast Guard because they're actually out there carrying out their mission. Whereas basically the time he spent in the Army, there weren't any wars to fight or conflicts that he was involved in. So he basically spent his whole Army career just, doing training and maneuvers, things like that. And he's right about that. The Coast Guard has a lot of roles, all right? And really gets no love. And they thoroughly deserve it. Like the Coast Guard, all right, some of the things the Coast Guard is in charge of is coastal rescue, search and rescue, drug interdiction, anti-human trafficking missions and patrols, border security, because guess what? There's a lot of U.S. border that's covered by ocean. And that border normally is, traditionally referred to as the coastline. Coastline, Coast Guard, guarding the coast. See how that works? See? I mean, maybe someone could point that out to the president here. But anyway, they do drug interdiction, they do border protection. They also maintain all navigation, a lot of coastal navigation aids and buoys and systems like that. And all of these things are vital for commerce and for our national security. But never mind, 1.3 billion. We're just going to go ahead and hack that off your budget. I don't know. Maybe it's because they're asking for the wrong things. I mean, lately, I believe from the article, the head guys in the Coast Guard said they're trying to get a few more icebreakers. Maybe if they... Here's an idea. They can pitch it to the government. They can pitch it to Trump. Ice-breaking aircraft carriers. Maybe he'll go for that. I mean, put some guns on those on those icebreakers. Maybe he'll pay for them. It just goes to show what idiots or how small-minded these people are. It's like, oh, Coast Guard, that's not military, it needs to be cut. The Coast Guard does a lot of shit, and they have no idea. They don't even think about it. So, we're just going to cut them. It's not the military. Let's just cut it. We need to rebuild our military. Coast Guard doesn't shoot at people, so they're not the military. Like, seriously. And same with NOAA. They predict they help provide data to scientists and meteorologists that help predict the weather. Not everything they do has to do with climate change, asshole. Anyway, that's all I got for that one. Like, comment, subscribe. Links in the description. Damn thing. I'll see you next time.